Hi guys, this is Wireheadking and welcome to part 8 of the Dojo tutorial series. In this part we're going to be rendering and compositing, so let's get straight into it. So first of all, what we're going to need to do is set this scene up to be rendered. So down here in the samples, I'm just going to leave this at 100. Just for now I'm going to increase it to 1000 later on when we give it the final render. But for now, because we're going to be re-rendering occasionally, if Blender crashes for example, I'm going to leave this at 100 so it only takes a few minutes to render. Also, make sure your device is set to your GPU. If you don't have the option for GPU, go over to File, User Preferences, and under System, set this from None to CUDA, and it should give you the option to select your graphics card, and then you can choose your GPU. When it comes to feature set, I recommend supported, experimental, sounds buggy, so yeah, leave it at that if that's what you're wondering what you should do with that. Dimensions, get this to the dimensions you want. If you want like a widescreen or something, then get it to that, but I recommend leaving it at 50% because once again, we're going to be re-rendering this a couple of times, or we might be, I don't know. But chances are we might have to re-render it like once or something, so may as well leave it at 50%, saves time. Alright, so as for render layers, they've been moved, well in 2.67 they've been moved over here, so under this layer we might have more. In fact, actually I don't think we will, but with the render layer we need to come under, we need to go to the parsers, and we're going to want to have the AO and maybe the environment. I'm just going to tick that just to be safe, and let's go for shadow as well, but I doubt we're going to be using that. Okay, so now that we've done that, I think we're ready to give this a render, so I'm going to pause and render this. Okay, so it's finished rendering and it's looking quite grainy right now, but that's only because we set it to 100 samples. Later on when we increase the size and increase the samples, it'll look a lot more clear, but that's okay. It won't really interrupt us too much, and if it does, then later on when we give it the final render we can maybe tweak a couple of settings. So let's just go over to the compositor now by pressing Control left arrow, and it comes with this sort of preset compositor layout, which is quite awesome. So we're gonna click on Use Nodes. May as well click on Free Unused and Backdrop. And for those who are wondering, Free Unused basically means that if a node is not eventually connected to the final composite node, it won't be rendered. So like if you've got something like compositing, a node group or something that you're thinking about using, you can just leave it in your scene, and if you decide you don't want to use it, just unplug it from something that leads to the final composite node, and it just won't count it. That's a bad explanation. I don't even know why I decided to tell you that, but there you go, that's what that does. So okay, so we've got this now. We can move this composite node over here, get a bit of space for some nodes, and first thing that we need to do is, if we get a viewer node as well, and just bring this over here and put the image in there, and then we have to, there we go, duplicate the viewer to make the background image pop up. I think that's a bug or something, but you know, I never report bugs just in case I'm retarded and it's not a bug and then like people laughing at me. So okay, right, so we've got the image showing up. What we need to do is, these pillars don't have, well, technically they do have, but they don't have much ambient occlusion on them, and we need that, and there's some other areas where it should really be getting darker, so just need to enhance the shadows a little bit. So if we just duplicate this viewer node and put the AO into the image, AO is the ambient occlusion, by the way, if you didn't know. As you can see, it sort of gives us a, well, you know, I'm sure you've all seen a picture of just an AO pass to sort of show the geometry of a scene. Loads of people do them, but this is our one at 100 samples, so it looks kind of funny. And this won't actually work to add some AO to the bottom of these pillars, but it will for the rest of the room. So yeah, we could actually maybe even add in the AO in the world, although have they actually got rid of that for cycles? It might have done. Oh no, here it is right here. I might actually add that in a bit, but yeah, I might do that. Yeah, let's do that actually. Alright, so I was just going to pause and add it in and then render it, but then I remembered you wouldn't see the settings. So the distance, 10 meters, I think that's a bit too much. I'm not entirely sure. In fact, let's just quickly change this back to blender render, so the ambient occlusion. Right, okay. Back to cycles. Okay, so this is I don't know. I think. Oh yeah, ambient occlusion only really adds to a scene, doesn't it? But in cycles, let's just set this to like 2 meters or something, and leave the factor at 1. In fact, no. Yeah, 1. Okay, and let's just re-render that. Okay, stop rendering it. It looks horrible. I thought it would, so let's just turn that off. So we're gonna have to use this. So okay, let's add in a mix node. Ah, crap. Okay. Actually, okay. So I'm just thinking, because now the AO thing in the viewer is looking good. I think maybe what I could do is leave this on, but then bring the factor down to 0, and then that might still work. I'm going to try it anyway, but now I'm just going to quickly re-render this now. Alright, so it's rendered, and my mouse turns back on, there we go. Alright, so now the AO is looking cool, and I thought there was something wrong with what it looked like earlier. It turns out that that's what it was. So we can now get that extra bit of darkness just appearing at the bottom there. So with this mix node that we've got, just put this in the way here and put this at the bottom, and then get the image and then put that in the top, and then set this to multiply. And then, as you can see, things are getting a little bit darker. If we just decrease this, we can change how dark it gets. I think a 0.5 is looking quite good, because the AO was kind of weak, so there needs to be some strength behind it. And the pillars haven't really been too affected by this, but okay, I'm gonna leave it. Yeah, 0.7, that'll do. Maybe even 0.75, okay. Let's just leave it there. Alright, so the next thing on the agenda for the compositing is the volumetric lighting and the dust particles. They're quite simple to make. What I'm going to do is just save this file here, and I'm not going to close it, I'm just going to minimize it. And then, oh yes, it's my wrong folder. But okay, actually, what I'm going to do is save it as the volumetric lighting blend, and then find it. I was in the wrong folder. Here it is, compositing, that one. And uncheck use nodes so that the compositor isn't in effect. And then if we come over here, we can just collapse the material nodes here, and what we need to do is get rid of all the materials on all of the objects in the scene. And I'm just going to hide every object as I remove their materials, so I know what I have and haven't done. So let's hide that. And the reason why we're doing this is because anything with a cycles material in the blender render, so change it to blender render because we need that, anything with a cycles material will just show up as just a transparency, so that's why we need to do this. And then the floor, and then these empties are pointers in this cube. That didn't even have material, did it? Okay, so that's fine. So let's unhide these now, and let's get this the sun lamp, and let's set this to a spot, and we need to have buffer shadow and classic halfway there if you haven't already got it. And now if we were to render this, you would see nothing but blackness and a few bits of light breaking through there, and that light that's sort of creeping in, if we just change it, turn off the specular and diffuse, hopefully that will go away and it should be pure blackness. Alright, that's cool. Now the reason why it's just completely black is because we've got these planes in the way of our windows, so let's just select the... That's a bit difficult to select because quite often you get a different face, but if we just select these two window bits here, like the faces, and delete them, you can see that it's now got no geometry in the way. And we could give them a material to let the light through, but I don't actually know if that works with halos or not, but you know. But now when we render this, okay, maybe not. I was expecting it to work, although the halo should still work. So if we add in a halo effect on the spot lamp, that basically gives it the volumetric lighting. We then need to turn on, just change the step up to 1, so that then it can, if we didn't have the step up, then the halo would just, it wouldn't like consider any geometry, just go through everything. Alright then, so now that we've done that, you can see sort of the effect that we're going for here. And I'm having to actually re-record this tutorial because I failed miserably with the whole spot lamp thing, so hopefully this will go a little bit better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get the clip start and the clip end, and get it to start right before it enters the building, and so I'm going to make it end sort of halfway through. And what that should do is get the volumetric lighting looking just a little bit better, although it hasn't really worked. And what we'll do is it will just naturally sort of cut it off. And I don't think it's working at all actually, so okay. Okay, let's also set the intensity to 5, and the reason why I'm doing that is so that it gets full blown and it's all very bright, so that then we can make it darker later, because it's easier to make this darker than it is to make it brighter, simply because it is actually. There's no real reason that I can explain very easily. Okay, and it seems that the geometry in the room is getting in the way, and that's sort of annoying. So what I'm going to do is just get the spot lamp, move it into layer 2, making sure it's still in layer 1, so then I think it will interact with the geometry. Make sure it's in layer 2 as well. Then let's add in a new render layer, call this volumetric lighting, and add in, with the layers, have the scene at 1 and 2, and have the layer just at 2. So like that. And the difference between these are the scene is sort of what you can see. It's basically like, you know, come down here and you shift and select stuff, that's all it is. And the layer is specific to this render layer. Okay, so let's render that now. Oh dear. Okay, oh there we go. Now this is still on render layer. We want to change this to volumetric lighting, and it looks horrible. Okay, so I don't know why it was working last time. Okay, I don't remember doing anything differently. Oh Oh, hang on, no, it might just be because the horizon colour is grey, so it looked like it was doing something, but... Oh, no, okay, well, it's because of something, because that was looking quite disgusting. Okay, so let's figure out what I did wrong this time. Over here in the render layer, most likely. Okay, so let's see. Let's... I don't know, I think... let's just leave it. Just for now, while I... In fact, I'm going to pause and figure it out. Alright, I just figured it out. Basically, we need to click on Alt-Z in here. And what that does is it will get the Z, or Z value, and then have the actual render layer render like that. And to briefly explain what the Z value is, it's basically where geometry is and how far away it is from the camera and stuff like that. Because what was happening was the halo at the back here was showing up and it looked disgusting, and that's what the problem was. So now when we have Alt-Z, it considers... Oh, okay, it's yeah, it's decided to just go back to square one, and that sucks. Okay, so what we can do is just make the light smaller, so bring down the size here, just make the cone thinner, and actually I'm worried about, you know what, I could maybe change it. Thing is, you don't really want to change the angle of it too much because you know, it might look a bit strange because the light's coming in from this angle, so the volumetric lighting should be coming in at this angle. You could just put a plane in the way, I guess. I don't remember exactly what I did just a few minutes ago when I made an attempt at recording this earlier, but we can maybe figure something out. Let's just go along with it and then figure out those problems later. Okay, so no, but you see that bit's looking kind of weird, isn't it? Okay, right. Oh, it's the diffuse and everything. Oh no, it's just the halo, isn't it? Okay. Okay, one sec, I really need to figure this. Alright then, so I didn't really find the source of the problem, but I found a way to fix it. Basically, I just made this big, well, this sort of strange mesh that goes around the building and sort of cuts into it, and it basically blocks the light from, or some of the light from getting in, and is, you know, here's, if we just get it into a, oh no, I accidentally hid it, if we just get it into like a layer down here, this is basically what it looks like. It's really kind of rubbish, but the reason why it's, you know, I can be so sloppy with the modelling of it is because it's going to be completely black, it's not going to show up, so yeah. Alright, so if we just get back to where we were, right, let's figure out how to fix this this light. So right now it's actually not looking too bad, but I think it could maybe have instead of it just hitting the floor like that, I sort of think it could have maybe a soft fade out. I think that would look a bit better. So what I'm going to do is make the distance a lot less, maybe to about there or something. So that's 22, but really it will change depending on you know, your angle and your location of your light. Okay, so that's got that. It's sort of brought that back, but it's still a bit sharp, so we just have to increase the blend amount to 0.3. And that didn't do anything. Okay. I always screw up somehow. Okay, let's figure this out. In fact, you know what? We don't need to. Let's just leave it at that. Although, sort of tempted to just sort of change the. No, I can't really change the rotation. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So make sure you're rendering this at full size, or the full size of your render, because otherwise it will look sort of low resolution when it comes to rendering the whole scene at full size. Okay, and this is taking a lot longer to render. There we go. Alright, so let's save this as an image. And some people like to do weird stuff with scenes and stuff like that, but I'm just going to call this volumetric lighting. And yeah, you can look up a tutorial on other volumetric lighting with cycles, tutorials and everything, but this is a simple method and it's easy for me, so I sort of use this method. So, now that we've got the volumetric lighting, let's just delete the light and let's add in a new plane. In fact, now let's add in a cube, it'll be quicker that way. Add in a cube, make it okay, I want to scale it up, it goes all funny on me. Oh, okay, that's why. So this says to median point. I'm just going to make this cube just as long as it doesn't even have to be bigger than the room actually, but just as long as where the volumetric lighting is in this cube. And what we're going to do is let's just call this cube dust or something, and we're going to add in in fact, let's actually just move this over to a layer over here so we can see it. We're going to add in some particle systems here, and when you press Alt A you can see all the particles are coming out the top and around the sides and everything and falling. So first of all we want to turn off gravity, so go to field weights, turn off gravity. Also let's just not have it, in fact just have it start and end at 1 and have the lifetime go at 250, and now you can see they're just coming off from the sides and they're going out. But if we change this from faces to volume, then they will actually all start off inside the cube and then proceed out. So what I'm going to do is just turn all the volume down to 0, and in the end I actually used Boyd particles, but that was kind of pointless because all they did was just like float around, and in the end it just looked stupid. But yeah, if you want to get floating particles that actually move if you're making animation, I recommend you look at some Boyd tutorials, but it took me ages to get it right, and in the end it didn't have any effect, so I'm just going to leave it at something like this. I'm also going to increase the number of them to 100,000, and now I need to play around with the halo material. So add in a new material, set it to halo, and if we were to render this now, chances are it's going to be just completely white. Oh wait, no, of course not, because we haven't set it up properly. Let's just maybe I'll just put this into the volumetric lighting layer, because we've already got that one setting up to render. And let's render this at half the size again. So 100/2. That's quite a fun thing to do if you're, let's say you want to change the resolution to exactly half as the full render. Just put a /2 at the end, and it does that. You can also put in weird things like maybe ×2 divided by 4, and it does the same thing. So you can have Blender do some maths. So actually used Blender to help me with my maths homework once. I was stuck on like a multiplication question, just quickly put it in Blender and it worked. And yeah. Anyway, basically, yeah, we're doing that now. So let's render this, and like I said, chances are it's going to be completely white or grey even. And turns out I was right. So what we need to do is just make the size of this 0.05. And it looks like the material's just gone, but it hasn't. If we give this another render, oh, that's quick. If we give this another render, you can see that now we're getting these big particles. Also going to increase the hardness to 150 or 127, whatever. Render this again. Oh, that didn't do anything. Okay. And we can don't know how to make them less soft. Thought that'd be the hardness, but apparently it isn't. We can, if you want to, you can decrease the alpha, but I won't do that. I'll do that later. But we really need to make the size a lot smaller than that. So 0.005. That will make them even smaller, and to the point where they're invisible. So 0.01. Okay. And if we were to render this at full size, because it seems that oh, we need to, yeah, let's save this as a separate thing. Call this particles. I don't even know if I saved the volumetric lighting. Let's see if I did. Oh, okay. Well, it seems that we've lost the volumetric lighting. Let's just hope that we've done it right. Okay, so bring back the particles. Alright, so if we render this at full size, you can see that yeah, we've got quite a lot of these. It'd be quite annoying to breathe, and because you know, I'm sure we've all been in that situation where the light is angled perfectly and it's coming through a window and it just lights up all the dust in your room, and you're sort of concerned that you're breathing in all that stuff. And also on cold days when like you're walking with people and you see like the water vapor come out their mouth and goes flying into your face, it just makes you worry about how much of other people's breath you're breathing in when you're walking with them. But we're going completely off topic here. So we've got lots of these particles now, and we need to maybe bring this down to let's see just how small we can get them, because one of the main comments on my previous one was that the dust particles were too big, and they kind of were. I'd say that this is the right size, but I think too many of them are showing up, so we can maybe decrease the amount of them to say 50,000. And you might think that maybe that I'm being a bit too easy there, but we are getting rid of half of them, and there we go. That's looking alright actually. So is it? Yeah, it is on the full size. And I'm just going to save this. Oh, and by the way, when we go back to this file, because this image is half the size of the particles, quite a lot of them won't actually show up because they'll be just removed, because these particles, some of them are like just 1 pixel, a couple of them are maybe like a few pixels, but yeah, quite a lot of them are just 1 pixel. So when the image gets smaller to fit this scene, quite a lot of them will be removed, but when we increase the size again, it should be fine. So let's save that and make an image of it. So I'm going to call this particles. And now when we go back to this scene, we can now bring them in. So we need to go into input, image, and then go to open, and then find the volumetric lighting. Then duplicate this and find the particles. Alright, so if we just get a viewer node now, just to see what's happening, let's first of all play around with the volumetric lighting, make it a bit smaller. Let's, in fact, instead of making it, yeah, I don't know, let's go to distort, scale, and set this to render size, and then scale that up again, and then duplicate this, put the particles in there as well. Okay, So let's just actually move this way up here. Alright, so what we need to do is combine the particles with the volumetric lighting, but first of all we need to make the volumetric lighting a little bit less powerful, because right now it's looking too powerful. So let's bring this down a bit, or in fact we could just actually okay, let's leave it at that actually. That's not looking too bad. Yeah, okay, and then we add in a mix node and we set this to multiply, and then we put in the particles beneath this, and you can see now the particles are appearing in the volumetric lighting. And then all we have to do is duplicate the mix node here, set this to add, and then have the volumetric lighting come in again like so. And we might need to what happens if we just swap that around? Okay, swap that around. Oh, okay, let's just figure something out. Okay, so if we just seems that we need this to be at 1, although could be. Oh, if we set this to screen. Oh no, that won't work. Alright, so it needs to be multiplied. This can be set to screen though. So where is that? There. And alright, I think we need to just make the particles a little bit brighter because they're not really showing up very well. So let's add in some RGB curves and connect them like that. Although actually, I guess I'll make a difference where the RGB curves go. We can make them a bit brighter like that, and that makes them just show up a little bit more. And alright, that's not looking too bad. So now that we've got the final output of combining these things, and the reason why we want the dust particles to appear in the volumetric lighting is because that's where the light's going to be directly hitting them, just in case you're wondering about that. Okay, so with this we can now go into color, add in a mix node, set this to screen, put this into the bottom, and put the multiply node here from the ambient occlusion into the top, and let's put this into a viewer. And as you can see, we've now got some volumetric lighting appearing, but it looks kind of weird, and that's because it's just completely white. So let's bring a viewer node. Oh no, we've got a view node way up here. Okay, so let's just bring all of this back a little bit, and we can add in some RGB curves to change the color. And you might be wondering why RGB curves are the best thing for this. Why not like a color balance or something? And that's because color balances are more for like changing the final color of a scene, and they don't really work too well with this sort of stuff. But with this, all you have to do is just get the red value and just move it up a little bit, and get the blue value and move it down a little bit, and put this into the viewer so we can see the difference. And as you can see, we've now got these nice orangey colours. So I think I might just get a little bit less orange because that's a bit too much. Something like that. And now when we take a look at it, it's not looking too bad, and we can decrease the factor there. In fact, we could actually if we just delete the thing that adds the volumetric lighting back in, we could actually just add these in individually. So now that we've got the particles in, okay, yeah, because I'm just thinking they're looking a little bit too small, but it might not be a problem. When we get the image to the full size, we'll see. Okay, let's increase the factor, maybe quite a lot actually, maybe sets to 2 or something, get the particles really showing up. Okay, and then we need to add in the volumetric lighting, so we can duplicate these RGB curves. In fact, actually we can use the RGB curves we've already got. So let's just get in a viewer node, put that in there, and let's just delete that little bit in the curve thingy and then add in a bit of red and remove a bit of blue, and I'll get that nice orange glow. And I might get this more orangey than the particles. Alright, and then we can add in, just duplicate this screen node and then put the volumetric lighting into the bottom there. Oh good lord. Okay, let's add this instead, and then, oh yeah, that's what the problem was, the factors set all the way up to 2 on something that's already a bit too powerful. So let's bring this down to 0.5. Okay, and we might even just bring the factor of the particles back down to 1. And then there we go. That didn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped. But if you just tweak and some of the stuff and fiddle around with the files here and everything, then you should be able to get it to look good. But this is generally the process. Okay, so now that we've done that, I don't think there's much more to do. I think it's really just finishing off the scene now. Yeah. Okay, so let's move these over here. Let's get into the final color correction. So now we're going to use the color balance. I think in the end, like on my main version, I just used RGB curves. But that was because I was tired of working on it for 3 days, maybe even more, and I didn't think to use a color balance. I just used RGB curves, but it actually turned out to work pretty well. But you know, RGB curves are the best thing to do. So anyway, color balance, for those of you who've never used it, it goes from lightest to darkest, I think. It's been a while since I've used it myself. So basically the circle on the left, that will change the colour of the brighter parts. This part will change the colour of these sort of mid-tones, and this the darker areas. So I think the lighter areas, if we're going for a warm colour scene, they need to be changed to a sort of yellowy orange colour. You can go really harsh on this and have some weird red thing, but I'm going to make it just quite a subtle change. And for the mid-tones, I might leave them the same. And a lot of people say that what's called complementary colours, I think is the official term for it. Colours that just go opposite of each other work well. And in this scene, they sort of do. But I'm still sort of thinking maybe the orangey yellow still looks alright. I might even leave this neutral as well, actually. Okay, well, there we go. Oh, and of course the vignette, which is one of Andrew Price's favourites, but also I think it looks quite cool. And if you want to add one in, using a lens distortion, you can set the distort all the way up to 1, and that makes it look kind of disgusting. But if we then go to converter and math, we can then set this to greater than, and then set this value to 0. That makes this completely white. But if you get like a little black speck thing there, you can just set this to -1 and then swap these round, so the color balance goes into the value here, then the math node goes into the image there, and then that goes into the viewer like so, and then you get this. Alright, so now when we get go to filter, blur, fast Gaussian, relative, and the reason why I'm saying that to relative is when we increase the size, it will stay the same. But if it's not relative, it's by pixels. So if we put in like 100 pixels or so, when we scale it up, it will look like it's just been 50 pixels. So relative is cool. Choose X, that tends to look better, and that's basically getting the aspect, getting the percentage. In fact, see for yourself. If we just go to color mix, set this to multiply, and put that in there, and have the color balance going into there. Put that into the viewer node, Basically, when we set this to 30 and 30, for example, that's 30% and 30% of the X dimension. Wait, that's the Y, isn't it? The X dimension, the left to right horizontal one. If we change this to Y, it will change to being 30% of the Y, and none basically means it will be I think it's just both of them. I'm not too sure, but I'm gonna leave it at X. And as you can see, the vignette just makes the corners a little bit blacker, a bit darker, and we can maybe decrease the factor just to make it a little bit more subtle. But there we go. So that's not looking too bad. I think we can give this a final render now and correct anything that needs to be corrected. And don't worry about this stuff. This has got the render sizing, so no matter what size we render it at, these will adjust. So that's the volumetric lighting and the dust, by the way. So when we scale this up, we don't have to fiddle around with the sizes of these or the render or anything. Alright, so let's do that. Let's render this at 1000 samples. And before I do that, let's actually tell you how. Come down here, set the render value here in sampling to 1000. Don't worry about the preview, that's for if you want to go down here and view it as rendered, but we're beyond that point now, we don't need to do that. So set this to 1000, okay, and render. And one last thing, I'm going to make the image size the maximum size. So hopefully that's the last time I have to cut in. Alright, so now just render it. Alright then, so a few hours have passed. Yeah, that's 2 hours and 6 minutes. Got to watch a couple of episodes of Breaking Bad, and it's now 3 AM. And I'm getting pretty tired now, so let's wrap things up. So here's our final scene. It's looking pretty good. Some of the textures are looking kind of strange, and I think maybe we could add in a bit more dust than that, so really make it seem a bit more, dusty. But there you go. So we could just put in more dust right now. There we go. Just by increasing the amount of particles back to 100,000. Can't see my keyboard. There it is. Oh no, I don't want 500,002. 500,000 times 2. There we go. And then, first of all, what I'm going to do though is just quickly save this image, just in case it crashes. Call it render and save that, and then let's just render the particles, and then just save this image over the particles that we've already got. And then if we look at the compositor, it should have changed, although I might need to refresh the image. There we go. So now I've got more particles there. As for the ambient occlusion, we could change that as well. Although I don't think we really need to. We could though. So let's actually try that. So the AO is going in. Yes, in this one. So let's view this, and let's maybe put this. If you have it all the way up at 1, I think it gets a bit too dark towards the back. Although let's see how it looks at the end of it all, because it might look quite good. It looks alright. It's still looking a bit dark though, so maybe 0.9 for the factor, just to bring it down a little bit. And there we go. There are a few things I'd edit, like I say, the textures, mainly up here, look kind of weird. This pillar, I'm not sure if I like it or don't like it. But yeah, there we go. So thanks for watching this tutorial series. I'll be with you again in a couple of months or something with the next one. although I've got a week off school starting now actually, so I might maybe even just be next week introducing the next one. It really depends on how active I am over the week off that I've got. So yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe and like and all that stuff, it helps. It all helps. So yeah, thanks for watching and goodbye.